Retro Beats. It's a Genesis Marathon. Welcome to episode 13 of the Retro Beats podcast. I'm your host, Derek Alexander. If you didn't know, this is a video game music podcast, but guess what? This is not original chiptune music, and this is not video game cover bands or video game remixes. We're talking original video game music, and listen, if you're a fan of the show, and if you listen to the show, you know it, I know it, there's too much Nintendo, too much Super Nintendo that I do on these shows, and I do largely ignore the Genesis, but I've said before, it's just not my wheelhouse. I grew up on the Nintendo, I grew up on the Super Nintendo, it's just what I know the best. So I have asked the fans on my Facebook, on my Twitter, hey, what are some really good Genesis soundtracks out there? And I've been poring over soundtracks for a while now. This is coming out in April 2nd, on my birthday as a matter of fact. You'll be hearing this on April 2nd. This is technically going to be the March 2014 episode. I wasn't able to get one out in February, but I am looking forward to having another one of these in April. And that will not be like this one, which is a complete Genesis marathon. I've been pouring over soundtracks, trying to find some really, really good stuff. Of course, I got a lot of requests for like Sonic and Shining Force, and not about that. I want that weird stuff. I want that weird stuff. And actually, one request that I got last time, because I was asking for some Genesis music, was a song from Decap Attack, a game I'd played, I think, for a few minutes on like the Xbox Genesis compilation, and I wasn't too impressed with. But coming back now, I listened to the soundtrack and was blown away by how good the soundtrack was. So I'll tell you what, we're going to hear a bunch of tracks from Decap Attack kind of throughout the show, as well as just a ton of other stuff. I got a lot of stuff planned. Let's just get right back into it. We just heard the introduction song from Decap Attack. How about level 7 from Decap Attack? Oh, Retro Beats, it's good to be back. Decap Attack, level 4. Before that, Batman, stage 4-2 and 5-2. Before that, Asterix, the Great Rescue, level 5, the Roman Gallery. And Burning Force, Sarinuka Sands, and kicking us off was Decap Attack, level 7. And throughout the show, we're going to be hearing songs in the background here for the mic breaks. It's a bunch of stuff from Snatcher. One thing that happened when I was researching music for this show, I downloaded the soundtrack of Snatcher and just cried myself to sleep thinking that how great it would be if I had a working Sega CD. I have a copy of Snatcher. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time, probably in top 5. Absolutely amazing game. And I haven't had a working Sega CD in maybe 10 years now. I've gone through so many Sega CDs in my day. So right now we're listening to Pressure, Tension, and before the last mic break, we were the Junker HQ, and more Snatcher to come. All right, and actually right now coming up, we have some Dragon's Fury, some Master of Monsters, some Bonanza Brothers, a whole bunch of stuff. In case you missed it, all Genesis music this time. Let's do it. From a game whose soundtrack is probably better than the game, Sparkster, that was the theme to Level 5. Before that, some Dynamite Headdy, Danzig Dungeon, or Danzen Dungeon. I want to say Danzig, but it's not Danzig. Bonanza Brothers, that song's called Bonanza Elegy, but that's just one of the many main songs in that game. Really good track. Before that, Master of Monsters. A lot of really good songs off of that game. A game I'm not familiar with at all, but I was blown away by that soundtrack. But I picked the Golden Warrior. That song was kind of upbeat, real punchy, and that's what I was looking for. Before that, Light Crusader, the theme to Dungeon 1, and then again Dungeon 6. And kicking us off was Dragon's Fury bonus Table 3. Something I really enjoyed doing for this episode was just downloading any soundtrack or ROM that I could and just picking apart the soundtracks and just really seeing what I could find. And that's kind of, I like that kind of adventurous kind of crate digging style of just trying to find, whatever comes in my net. How I do this show for like Nintendo and Super Nintendo stuff. It's like games that I know. It's songs that I already know that are pretty good. But this is a fun sense of adventure here. But also a lot of people pointed me in the right direction and got me some really good stuff. So I'm happy to say there's a lot of soundtracks to games that I never played and never heard of. And, it inspires me to go out and kind of get to know the Genesis library a little more. Because, I don't know, just growing up, I have my one friend who had a Genesis, and then all of us, we all had Nintendos and Super Nintendos, and you could always find places to rent Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, and not every place had Genesis games. It was just, I don't know, something about Anchorage, Alaska, growing up here, and we were just not a Genesis town. Something else though I discovered in my my search for songs for this episode. There are a handful of like Nintendo and Super Nintendo games that came out on the Genesis as well, and I was kind of shocked to find out that they had the exact same songs. That was shocking, but that they were actually way better or way different sounding. Just an interesting take on the Genesis version. So even though we're all Genesis, how about I play some songs that are probably well-known Nintendo and Super Nintendo songs, but on a Genesis, starting with Battletoads and then moving on to Double Dragon 2, some Castlevania, and Ys 3. It is the Genesis Marathon, but I still found a way to sneak in some Nintendo. East 3, Valestein Castle, and before that, another track from East 3, Seal of Time. That soundtrack is so much more punchy and upbeat and on the Genesis version. I'm going to take a quick moment here to mention I got a lot of requests for certain Genesis games that just didn't quite have the same punch and kind of loudness that I was kind of looking for. And really the Genesis and the Super Nintendo both have soundtracks that are just kind of more chill and more mellow. And there's a place, there's a time for those songs. I just didn't really feel like a lot of those Genesis soundtracks quite fit with how I wanted this mix to be. But yeah, East 3 for the Genesis, the soundtrack so much better, so much better than it is in the Super Nintendo. But I wouldn't say that's a really well-known soundtrack, not as much as Castlevania Bloodlines, the theme of Simon. I believe I played this on the last Castlevania episode, but I really dig that interpretation of the theme of Simon from Super Castlevania 4. Before that, holy crap, Double Dragon 2, that Mission 2 boss was the last song we heard from that. It was just massive, crazy synth. I don't know what the hell that was. It was massive and it was giant and it was amazing. That was probably I fell out of my chair like, holy crap, this is so much crazier than the Nintendo version. So all three of those Double Dragon 2 songs, we heard the Mission 2 boss, before that the Mission 3, and then before that the Intermission. It's usually heard during the amazing cutscenes where you grasp onto the elevator, the helicopter as it's getting away. But that game's soundtrack for the Nintendo, really good, but man, just like massive and giant on the Genesis. Much like the Battletoads soundtrack, I would almost say that I think the soundtrack for the Genesis version of Battletoads is better than the Nintendo version. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with that statement. That's because people have a weird nostalgia for Battletoads. We heard Surf City, and then kicking us off was the Arctic Caverns. And I'm going to level with you people. Battletoads has never been a good game. It's like a textbook example of how you don't do a difficult game. Like, Dark Souls. That's how you do a difficult game, or Ninja Gaiden or Dragon's Fighter. But like, oh man, Battletoads, no, that game's overrated. Like, maybe the most overrated Nintendo game. Really good soundtrack, and I really like how it came out on the Genesis. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here. Actually, I got a few more songs, and then I think it's gonna have to cut it. Once again, this has been episode 13 of the Retro Beats Podcast. Check out retrobeatspodcast.tumblr.com. Also, this is a Space Money Octagon joint. Check out spacemoneyoctagon.com. And once again, this is coming out actually in early April. However, this is going to be technically the March episode of Retro Beats. I'm hoping to have another episode of Retro Beats out in April proper. Oh, and also, if anyone knows where I can find a Sega Master System soundtracks more easily, I've gotten a handful of requests for those. And you want to talk about a system I know nothing about. Finding music for that is really difficult. So go ahead and let me know in the comments on YouTube, or send me a thing on Twitter or something like that. But anyway, more Retro Beats to come. Hopefully another month, or hopefully within this next month, and then more months to come. All right, we're gonna close it out with one more track from Decap Attack. Some Streets of Rage 2. Had to get some Streets of Rage in here. So many requests for it, and you all know it. I wanted to be educating you people with something new, but also, goddamn soundtrack Streets of Rage 2 is so good. Some Contra hardcore, and then we're going to finish off with Final Zone, the ending theme called After the War. That's going to close it out. Check out spacemoneyoctagon.com and check out the Retro Beats Tumblr. I'm Derek. Take care.